All right, guys, welcome to Dropping Dimes. I am your host, Flavo Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. All right, guys, so NBA playoffs looking good so far in round two. You got Brooklyn versus Milwaukee, Atlanta versus Philly. You have the Clippers versus the Utah Jazz. Yes, the Clippers were able to get past the Dallas Mavericks in Game 7. What a phenomenal matchup. Kawhi Leonard did come up big in Game 7. And then obviously you have the Denver Nuggets versus the Phoenix Suns. So just giving you guys a rundown on what I have been seeing in round two of these playoffs. I mean, look, guys. Oh, my hair is ridiculous. Round two, right? Milwaukee versus Brooklyn. Obviously, I had said whoever was winning this was going to be coming out of the East. Well, guys, I really thought that this was going to be a series, and I was sadly wrong because in these first two games, it has been a blowout by Brooklyn. Brooklyn has looked phenomenal without James Harden, guys. Without James Harden. James Harden has been out because of a hamstring injury. He will not be playing tomorrow on Thursday at Milwaukee because of a hamstring injury, and I don't blame them because of the fact that I've even said it before. I think I said it in a tweet, right? If you check out the Four Corner Sports Twitter, you'll see that I said that the Nets should just honestly sit out James Harden for the remaining part of the series and let him get healthy for the conference finals or the finals. The hamstring is nothing to play around with. It's very, very serious, and they look phenomenal. Blake Griffin has had a resurrection of his career in these playoffs. All right, and he looked phenomenal. All right, look what he did in Game 1. He was all over the ball, diving for the ball. Shooting threes, dunking on Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right, he has looked phenomenal. All right, and he has looked great in these playoffs. I mean, clearly we had seen that he had very little interest in wanting to play in Detroit. I know the Pistons have looked awful. Right, has looked god awful. And I don't blame him for not wanting to play for that franchise. All right, these are not the Pistons of Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton and Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace. These are not the Pistons of Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. No, these Pistons. I mean, who are we having there? Do we still have Stanley Johnson playing for the Pistons? Who's up there? I mean, Reggie Jackson has left. He's playing for the Clippers. I don't even know who's playing up there to begin with. Pistons look really bad. What is it? Jeremy Grant. He ended up signing a huge contract to play with the Pistons. I don't know why he did that. He honestly should have really stayed in Denver. But yeah, guys. I mean, Blake Griffin did not want to be there, and you see what he's able to do. I mean, he's able to knock down threes. He's able to dunk the ball. I mean, he's able to he's dying for basketball. He's playing as if he really wants to be part of this team, in the future, and I'm pretty sure that the Nets are going to keep him after this year. The Milwaukee, I don't know what's going on with them. I mean, they look phenomenal against Miami. I mean, clearly they wanted to get redemption off of them, and they did. They swept them in the first round. Giannis looked great. Chris Middleton looked phenomenal in the first round. All right, Drew Holiday was picking up on his defenders. He was picking up on the point guards, making it hard for Tyler Hero to look, good in the first round. And they can't replicate that because of the fact that even without James Harden, right, there are levels to this, guys. There are levels to this. Kyrie Irving is a above-notch level, or I would say levels above, Drew Holiday as a guard, all right? KD, he quite might be the best player on the planet, all right? I mean, we saw on ESPN that he had said, that he did not. I mean, we don't know if it's accurate or not. Jay Williams of ESPN ended up leaking out a personal, interaction he had with KD, saying that don't compare me to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Don't compare me. I'm no one to be compared to him. And clearly, we have seen in these playoffs in the second round that the way he's playing, he is kind of taking it personal. He is showing that, hey, that I am way better than Giannis Antetokounmpo, and there's no reason why there should be a comparison. And I agree with that because, look, Giannis can knock down a free throw, right? I don't know how many times we've seen Giannis airball a free throw, all right? That right there should be enough said. He can't make a jump shot. He's horrible from the three-point line, all right? Obviously, we have transitioned from, how basketball used to be, driving into the basket, scoring 2 points and stuff like that, to now this 3-point era where everything has to be a 3-point shot. Three is better than 2 points, yada yada yada. And KD might be one of the best shooters that we have. I mean, obviously Steph is number one, but KD is a pure jump shooter. This guy can knock down a shot from anywhere on the court. Giannis, on the other hand, he cannot. And I know they're playing tomorrow, Thursday, at Milwaukee. If the Bucks don't win tomorrow, they're gonna get swept. They're gonna get swept in Milwaukee. They're gonna get embarrassed. I mean, game 2 they were leading as much as 49 points. 49 points. And I believe the Nets ended up winning by like 30 something points. Look, guys, the score was not as close as you think it was. If you're watching that game 2, it was a blowout. All right, and KD, Kyrie, Blake Griffin, they weren't even playing in the fourth quarter. All right, you have Bruce Brown playing. Landry Shamet playing a lot in the fourth quarter. I mean, these boys are just phenomenal. I mean, you have to worry about KD and Kyrie. Then you got to worry about Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, who could knock down a jump shot, who might be the best shooter on the team, if not the second best shooter on the team. Landry Shamet. You have tons of weapons out there. I mean, you still have Nicholas Claxton. Nets have a array of weapons. I think this series might end in 5 games, but if the Bucks don't win tomorrow, it's ending in 4. Moving on into the other Eastern Conference matchup in round 2, the Atlanta Hawks versus the Philadelphia Sixers. Sixers had definitely picked it up. Game 1, they were getting blown out by like 20-something points against Atlanta. Atlanta could knock down shots, guys. It's not just about Trae Young. Look at Bogdan Bogdanović. All right, that guy, he honestly should have been a part of the Bucks, but because of some type of weird leakage, where the NBA front office, somebody ended up leaking out the trade that they were making the trade. It couldn't go through. It was something I don't know exactly too much about it, but that's why he ended up going to the Hawks. He's a phenomenal shooter. You have Danilo Gallinari, who's a great shooter. You have Lou Williams, who can score you a bucket. There's so many outlets of scoring on that team. It's ridiculous. It's not just Trae Young, and Trae Young attracts so much attention because he's very quick, he's very elusive, he's very shifty, and he ended up dropping like 30 something in game 1. But it was a large lead that they had throughout the game, but Philly was trying to come back, and it was just a little bit too late. They ended up transitioning that same game plan from the ending of the fourth quarter going into game 2, and it just showed like, look, Philly's great, defensively. They could lock you down. They could try to limit your scoring and stuff like that. But this series, it may go 6 or 7 games. I think the shooting of Atlanta, the series going to Atlanta right now, games 3 and 4 going to Atlanta. I certainly do feel like this is going to be a very long series. I think the torn meniscus on Joel Embiid is going to play a factor as the longer this series ends up going, and obviously the longer they're in the playoffs. Ben Simmons' lack of shooting or no shooting whatsoever, he can't make a shot past the perimeter. That's going to be a huge factor. I just feel like this series is going to go long extensively, and the longer it goes, with me saying that the Nets are probably going to win in 5 games, that this is going to help out a lot on the recovery of James Harden, and whoever wins this matchup is most likely going to end up facing the Brooklyn Nets, and their season is going to end in the Eastern Conference. But Trae Young has looked phenomenal. Ben Simmons, he's going to need to get it done. Tobias Harris has looked great. I just looking forward to seeing what Doc Rivers is able to do, his game plan going into game 3, and what Nate McMillan's able to do to force Ben Simmons to try to beat you, on the outside, and him limit you. Because look, he had 4 points in game 2. Can Nate McMillan have that same type of game plan where Ben Simmons is only going to score you 4 points, and he's going to try to rely on everybody else and trying to beat you? It was a close game. And I was just looking forward to seeing, how this going to all transpire. I guess you could say, no, it wasn't that close, but game 1 was close. Game 2, I was confusing myself with that. But if you can have Ben Simmons getting you 4 points again in game 3 in Atlanta, and you're able to get the victory, whew, I don't know. Atlanta, looks like they're gonna have the momentum. They ended up tying the series, going to the ATL. We'll see what happens. Going over the Western Conference, we had a game the other day with the Clippers and Jazz. Clippers obviously ended up having a long, grueling series against the Dallas Mavericks, right? And I just felt like maybe they had so much of a drainage getting past Game 7. Now going into Game 1, the Jazz, look rested. They look, on their heels not on their heels. They put the Clippers on their heels, and they were just on pure attack mode. Donovan Mitchell is a star. He's almost on the verge of a superstar. This guy's phenomenal. Rudy Gobert, obviously the anchor that he is, blocking that shot, blocking Morris's last shot to secure the victory. 109-112. Jazz ended up winning, but it was the defense that the Jazz ended up displaying. And I feel like also the fatigue of that 7-game series that the Clippers had was a result of what happened. We'll see what happens in Game 2. I believe we're going to have a bigger matchup of Kawhi Leonard. I think Kawhi Leonard is going to score you more than 23 points. I want to see, with a little bit more rest, can they contain Donovan Mitchell? They can't allow Donovan Mitchell to score 40-plus points. He had 45 points. Are they going to have, a mixture of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard trying to lock down on Donovan Mitchell and force somebody else to beat you? Obviously, they have, Bojan Bogdanovic. They also have a rest of the stars, Jordan Clarkson, coming off the bench. I want to see what happens. Can somebody else outside of Donovan Mitchell get you, 20, 30 points? We'll see what happens, because the Jazz look phenomenal. Nobody has scored 20 points from the starting lineup. Bogdanovic scored 18 points. Royce O'Neal 8 points. Gobert 10 points. Joe Ingles 8 points, and Clarkson scored you 18 points. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Ty Lue able to display for Game 2. I know the series is in Utah. If they could steal one game in Utah and then bring that series back to LA tied 1-1, that's a huge win, and then the momentum will shift towards the Clippers. For the Jazz needs to make sure that you have to frustrate Paul George. You have to make others beat you, all right? Because if you have Paul George, lighting it up, then it's gonna make things 10 times more harder, because it could be the Kawhi Leonard Paul George saga, where they're gonna be able to hit you with that 1-2 punch, and then bam, you don't really have two potential closers on the Jazz. It's just Donovan Mitchell. I think it's a little bit easier for Ty Lue to game plan for the Jazz, as opposed to the Jazz to match up for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers have a loaded roster, but the Jazz defensively should be able to get this done. I believe that this series goes 7 games, and I believe that the Jazz end up moving on into the Clippers move on into the Western Conference Final for the very first time. And then lastly, moving on to the final matchup of the Western Conference, the final matchup of the NBA playoffs, is the Phoenix Suns versus the Denver Nuggets. This, guys, I think this might be the Western Conference looks great, right? All these matchups look great. Obviously, we know Brooklyn's most likely going to end up winning this thing in like 5 games. But, wow, the Suns and the Nuggets. I mean, I really do wish that we had Jamal Murray playing for the Nuggets, just because of the fact that if he didn't tear his ACL, we would have a very complete matchup. And I wanted to see, how this would display with the firepower that you have with Phoenix. That crowd in Phoenix looks phenomenal, all right? And then you're going to have Jokic and Jamal Murray for Denver. Oof, man. I think that's the only thing that's robbing us of this series. I think the series goes on also 7 games, if not 6 games. But I got the Suns winning. Whether it's in 6 or 7, I got the Suns winning. I think that DeAndre Ayton is going to be able to neutralize Nikola Jokic, all right? That crowd in Phoenix looks phenomenal. I think home court advantage is going to be a huge factor, okay? Devin Booker looks like he's going into another level. And then obviously the IQ, the orchestrator of CP3 running the point guard. Cameron Payne's looking phenomenal, okay? And then the absence of Jamal Murray is going to allow the Phoenix Suns to get past the Denver Nuggets. But the keys for Denver to actually not make that happen is Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. I think Nikola Jokic is now winning the MVP, right? Rightfully and deserved. I think that Nikola Jokic, if he's going to be able to slow the pace down, right? Make sure he's able to body up on DeAndre Ayton. Use that heavy body, right? Because whenever I look at Jokic, I agree with Stephen A. Smith. I just see like a big pile of lard, right? A guy that can't even jump past the sidewalk curb. But yet, he's able to get the job done. Excellent footwork. I believe that, Jokic is going to be able to get the Denver Nuggets 2 wins, all right? But I think that he's going to need a lot of help from Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. I just don't think that with the absence of Jamal Murray, I don't think the Nuggets are going to be able to get this done. So there you guys have it, right? I got the Brooklyn Nets getting out of the second round in 5 games, possibly in a clean sweep. I got Philly getting past the Atlanta Hawks, right? I got Philly getting past the Atlanta Hawks. I got the Clippers winning in 7 games, and I got the Suns getting past the Denver Nuggets in 6 games, all right? So let's see what happens. The Bucks need to get something done because they are looking like an embarrassment after having that great season that they ended up having. And the absence of Jamal Murray is just so painful to watch the Denver Nuggets without him because of the fact that we're just getting robbed on a great series. The Suns got past the Lakers. They're getting the Nuggets. Looks like everything's going in the Suns' ways. Very happy to see what's transpiring in these playoffs. We're getting some great basketball guys and then going into the conference finals. All right, guys. Until then, I'll see you guys later. And this is Dropping Dimes. I'm your host, Lava Rihanna. And I'll see you guys later. Please hit that like and subscribe button, guys. That really does help. See ya. Peace.